morning, welcome to Tuesday's Right Stuff with me, Matthew Rudd. It's the 23rd of June, and we have a new speaker. Yes, indeed, Michael Martin. He's... I love it, yes. Michael Martin forced out in a mutiny. Candidates put themselves up for the £146,000 a year job, and we had the winner. It's brilliant, isn't it? Not only that, but if you turn it around, it's the perfect place to fill in your expenses. Let's say hello to the panel. First off, Anne Diamond, ladies and gentlemen. You can't get your head around that
At £146,000 a year, he won't have to flip his houses now, will
No, he won't. We'll be talking more about him in a moment. You've been teaching by text, is something I've been reading about.
Oh, yeah, no, this was my son when he started... second son. When he started university last year. I used to get these weird texts from him saying, Mum, what can you do with an aubergine, 2 carrots and a potato? And it's because...
Ask George Michael.
Exactly. And I would text back a very healthy recipe. I taught him to cook by text.
Did you make him salt his aubergines?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's because apparently in university they would sell off these things, some ingredients, really, really cheap in the uni shop. So just as he was feeling hungry, he would go past and so there would be an aubergine for for a penny or something, and he'd end up with a conglomerate of a weird sort of assortment of vegetables, and then he'd ring me up.
Is he
and
still
say,
alive, your son?
He's doing, but he has learned to cook so well. I now, if by the end of the week you get into the fridge and it's full of little bits and bobs that gathered during the week and are just beginning to grow legs. And now I call for James and say, make something of that, and he throws in...
Has he got what it takes to be Master Chef?
He probably has, actually, yes. But it just occurred
I can't stop doing my Greg Wallace impression. I do it everywhere I go. Have you got what it takes to be Master Chef?
That would be better as speaker, wouldn't it?
Well, maybe.
You've got what it takes to be speaker. Order. Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Next time we have Anton Beckers. Who?
I thought I'd stumbled into John Colesaw's set or something.
Who, I'm reliably informed, we will be seeing a lot less of in Hole in the Wall because you're not going to be in your lycra suit anymore.
Oh, no, I've been... yeah, look
everyone's a picture.
Look, my mum always said to me, cover your bits up when you've got not much on.
At what point, Anton, did they show you that suit? Was it before or after you...
They said, when I first went and had a chat with them, they said, would you... we'd like you to do... How did they feel afterwards? They said, we'd like you to do a show. They said, but you have to wear this suit. We hope you don't mind. And I went, don't mind, I said. Do you know what I do for a living? Of course I don't mind. You couldn't sequin one of the arms, could you, perhaps? Or maybe a little tighter would be nice.
So why won't you be wearing the silver suit?
Well, I'm hosting the show this year, which is lovely. I'm thrilled about that. I'm very excited. So we're going to... we've got 2 new team captains, so...
Who are they?
I
asked because I've been asked on it and I didn't know whether to say yes or no.
Oh, you must come. You in silver lycra.
Yo, I tell you what, Anne.
Scared.
It'll have to be a very small hole now for you, ready to fit through.
Snake Hips Diamondo.
Should I do it?
Have it.
Should I do it?
I reckon you should, yes, please. I'm more excited about that than anything else.
It's a very scary silver suit, isn't it?
Yes.
Very tight silver suit, but don't be frightened of the suit. Enjoy the suit.
So who are they? Right, as long as I have sequins. So who are the team captains?
Austin Healy and Joe Swash.
Should I do it?
Yeah, come on, get on. You should have a go. You have a lot of fun.
What else have you got to do on a Saturday night?
Well, exactly.
We should all do it.
Yeah. Right Stuff team.
Now, easy. Now, let's meet our special guest this morning. It's TWStuff's Carol Decker! How are you? Now, Carol, of course, is joining a host of other 80s superstars for this summer's Rewind Festival. I know Billy Ocean's there. I know the Blockheads are there, of course, minus Ian Drury, but with Phil Jupiters. Yeah. I didn't realise this is a 3-day extravaganza. Now, it's a proper festival.
It's a proper festival. I mean, I've been doing these sort of 80 shows now for 6 years, and we have a sort of rolling cast of characters. In fact, we played at Newmarket Races last Friday, and there were 14,000 people there.
And that's what I was going to say. They are massive.
They are massive. We go abroad, we go to Germany, we do Grand Prix, race meets, stately homes and castles. The places where we do our gigs are spectacular. But this is the first 80s festival, and it runs August the 21st to the 23rd.
So camping out and all of that.
Camping, glamping, for those of you who want to do it zhuzhi.
That's where your tent or is already there for you, is that it?
It's pre-erected, darling. Yes.
We like that on this show.
But the music starts on the Saturday night, and, you know, you've got Kim Wilde, Rick Astley, Bananarama, we have Go West, ABC.
Who are, I have to say, I've seen them, and they are really quite something amazing.
Gloria Gaynor, Sister Sledge, some American artists, Billy Ocean, me on the Sunday. And we've just put, well, I say we, I know the promoter really well, so I feel connected. Another 10,000 tickets have just gone on sale.
So how many is it you're looking up to there? It must be nudging 30,000.
30. Well, people found out I was on the bill.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Tickets flew out.
And of course, it's a really big ask for you, because you must, walk all of half a mile from home to the venue?
I might get carried. I mean, I'm used to certain standards.
It really is where you live,
isn't
it?
I live in Henley, and it's at the bottom of my street. It's going to be the easiest money all year.
Now, having you here, of course, gives me a chance to remind everyone at home of what lovely hair you had back in '97.
How young I used to look, thank you. Yeah.
We have a lovely clip of Carol doing the singing the Tapao classic China and Yak.
You know what? We're flipping health and safety, because no one can smoke anymore. No one's got a fag lighter, so it just doesn't look the same, you know.
Just as well for our audience, because it was like watching Windy Miller, totally out of sync. Out of sync. 2 questions. What was the video about?
No idea. They just
it seemed very distressing.
It was about hair. That's what it was about.
My hair.
Van Conan and Lacquer.
It is, actually.
And the name Tapao, where is that from?
Well, I picked the name. We had our first album. It was recorded in the can. We'd done that in Chicago, and we didn't have a name, and the release date was coming forward. And so I was watching old school Captain James T. Kirk Star Trek, and this character was in it. Yeah. And it was Tapao, 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 and it was very onomatopoeic, you know, real snappy. And I just liked it at the time. I ran it by the band, and they had less objections to that than anything else, and that was it, really, you know, so stuck with it.
It's not a bad name.
Yeah, it did you quite well, didn't it?
Yeah, I guess it makes as less sense as any band's name, but in America it did cause some problems, because they are crazy Trekkies out there, and we did get stalked. And
there are no other kind of Trekkies.
Well, yeah, you know, and
sad, I suppose.
Yeah.
Sad and crazy.
Oh, easy, Tiger.
Some of us love Fuller.
Yeah. I'm the one that can do the impersonation of the door opening. Captain to Bridge.
Yeah. Give me more thrusts. But, I mean, we could have been called Klingon, so I bet...
Now, I was thinking about you last week on this show, because we did a thing about weddings.
Yes.
And when we were doing it, I was thinking, well, because I know your husband's a millionaire, blah, blah, blah. But you chose to do your wedding on the cheap, by all accounts.
Can I just correct that? My husband's not a millionaire.
Is he not? I thought he was a millionaire.
I wish.
Millionaire restaurateur.
Yeah, no, the reason... Well, on the cheap, it's a kind of a misnomer, really. I just think the wedding industry has got built up out of all proportion, and people just get ripped off by wedding planners. And when we looked around at what a bit of quiche and lettuce was going to cost per head... Now, my husband is a restaurateur and an incredible cook. And when he looked at all the prices of the places, and all the venues won't let you take your own food in anymore. So they've got it all nailed down. Yeah. Richard said, I'm not having that. Now, we're very fortunate. We've got a lovely house, a really big garden and a pool in Henley. And we got our gazebos from Asda for 80 quid. Richard sourced all the food at cost. So we had lobster and steak and gambas, and a really good present from a friend of mine who's also in the restaurant business was a cocktail bar with the most amazing cocktail guy. And that's a great present. So, and then a local lady was just starting a florist course at college. And so I was her guinea pig, so for 200 quid she did all my flowers and my bouquet.
How much do you think you spent altogether?
I reckon we brought our wedding in for about £3.5 grand.
Do you know what the current average wedding spend is in this country?
Yeah.
20 grand.
But can I just say, I'm an advocate for using...
Pop star, 3 grand.
No, I'm not mean, I'm not chiselling. I can be ridiculously
but it's
extravagant, you know, as my credit card statements will tell. But I like to use my common sense, and I don't like getting ripped off.
That we used to bump into each other at the same supermarket on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, getting UHT milk.
Rock and roll!
No, you said to me you get used to the taste after a while. I remember that.
It's always there. It's always there.
It's always there.
It's reliable, like a friend.
Oh,
yes.
You've made friends with UHT milk.
We have, yeah.
Right, good to have you here. Good to have all of you here. Good to have you with us as well. This is what's happening on today's show. First, the headlines with Carol. Thanks for that, Kirsty. First, though, it's the headlines. What have you got for us, then, Carol?
What have I got? Luke came to my wedding, by the way.
Huh?
Luke came to my wedding, yeah. You can testify to the sumptuous food. Like my glasses.
How do you know Luke, then?
How do I keep it
He
short?
lives at the bottom of their garden.
Yeah.
Does it?
No, I did a few shows for LBC Radio.
Yeah.
And he was helping Sandy Toxvig, who was working there at the time, with her property stuff. And I was trying to sell my house to move out to Henley. And he said, can I come round and just sort of... And we were struggling to sell it. And I don't know why, because it was fabulous. And he said, let me come round and give you a few tips. And so we just walked through the property together and did that kind of house doctory, paint that cream, hard stuff, varnish the floorboard, you know, common sense thing. And he was great.
And did you sell the house as a result?
Probably, with Luke's help, yeah.
There we go, that's all the proof we need.
Yeah.
What a
genius he is. Yeah.
OK, what's making news then?
Well, first off, we're kicking off with the new speaker, and your speaker was about the same size as him, actually, wasn't it? Yeah.
You see.
John Burko, he's got the right name, hasn't he?
In him we trust, in him we trust.
No, it should have been Widdy. It should have been Anne Widdecombe. Should have knocked
It's a very interesting choice because he's the Tory that all the Tories hate.
Yeah,
and one of the theories is that Labour voted for him because David Cameron hates him.
Ah, well, maybe, yeah.
Which is an interesting starting point for the Speaker.
Yeah, but he's not...
There he is being ceremonially dragged to the chair where he will collect £146,000.
Yeah.
You can only imagine how hard they're having to pull him.
Yeah, and he's not Snowy White, is he, in the expenses scandal? He's flipped his homes and he's taken advantage of the system, like most of them. And he just seems to be a kind of self-serving person who will grease up whoever he's next to.
There's a lot of cynical words been written about him. He also has been... He's been saying he wants true reform. A lot of the other candidates, and certainly Margaret Beckett, who was very favoured by Labour, didn't seem to represent reform. It came down to a race between him and Lord Young, George Young, and I think...
Didn't he flip his home
twice
in 3 years, or 3 times in 2 years?
I think he's saying he wants reform because that's what people want to hear. And
well,
if people
exactly.
didn't want reform, he'd say that.
How can you have faith in him as a reformer if he was blatantly taking advantage, as you say, of the system?
Because, as I keep repeating endlessly here, what we forget is this was the system that we're all objecting to, that all the stories came from. It was the accepted system. MPs hadn't taken pay rises. They were basically told, you can make up the money on your expenses. You submit what you like. The fees office run by the Speaker will decide whether or not that's acceptable. Michael Martin was the old guy in charge of what the fees office decided. Everything was going through, or everything bar the duck house was going through. That's unacceptable. So what Burko did, like all MPs, they did what they were essentially advised to do. And he's
not
saying
all MPs. I mean, if you ask
exactly,
Anne Widdecombe deliberately did not do things like that.
I want to know how they look, the other MPs who didn't take advantage of the system.
Yes, some obviously knew it was going on and decided that was not honest enough for them, and yet he has been elected. It's just...
OK. I mean, a lot of newspapers share your angst. Anyway, that's John Burko done
and
for
it's
now.
too small.
Well, size is irrelevant. The best things come in small packages.
Is that what all your girlfriends have been telling you?
Leave it. Leave it on the heightism. OK, anything else, Carol? What else have we got?
OK, yeah, this is really sad, actually. It's the father of kidnapped Brit, Peter Moore, who has said how come Gordon Brown could find the time to call Simon Cowell and ask how Subo was doing after her sort of mini breakdown. But he's never called the families of these...
Just about says it all, really, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? And I know a lot of people have criticised these men for going out there to earn big money in the security services, but that doesn't mean they should be left to be murdered.
No.
They're still British citizens, and they're out there doing a perfectly legal job.
And it does seem astonishing that our Prime Minister has enough time to phone Simon Cowell, buddy, and doesn't have the time to phone these people.
Because either he or whatever stupid spin doctors he's got at the moment think he will curry favour with us, the great unwashed, by taking notice of the latest TV show that everyone digs. It's just...
And you can't help but think that what difference a phone call from the Prime Minister might make to those who've got relatives held hostage.
I think in his defence he is making many... I think there is a lot going on that we don't know between our government and their government in an attempt to get these chaps back. And, you know, I think they do a marvellous job.
He still didn't find the time to make a call to them, and does have the time to make pronouncements about Sue Royal.
We can't discuss it in the press, but I need you to know that behind the scenes we're doing everything that we possibly can. He could have said that to you.
We must jog on or we'll run out of time, so that's that one. Anything else?
Where have we got? Oh, Screech to a Halt. Now, this is about the grunters and the shriekers in women's tennis. Last night I was watching the Wimbledon highlights on my Sky HD+. which I love. And I had to spool through the women's match because they were just shrieking their heads
I have
off.
the opposite effect. You see, I go to bed and I don't have the pictures on. I just go to bed, listen to the sound. Oh!
I couldn't help but wonder, what they're like
wonderful.
in bed.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Anyway, there's one of them. I can't remember her name. It's the one who stopped
let's have
shrieking.
a look. It's Michelle... oh, my God, Michelle... Thank you very much. I can't find her name.
She was the... and now she's...
But she says, if matches get tougher, I'm going to start grunting, and if people don't like it, they can leave.
OK. Thank you for that, Carol. What have you got, Anton?
I've got here a little a headline in The Sun. Sell to an outsider, we won't endorse it. Council bans Scott's family trying to buy a South Coast house. A couple, Phil and Vicky Collins, found a buyer for their Dorset house after 10 months, but they were banned from selling it to them by the council because this couple were from Scotland.
Is that because they're not going to be there all the time?
It's because they don't like Scottish people down that in South Coast House. And apparently they're not supporting Andy Murray. I think it's appalling myself. Now, in the Mail we've got here, this is quite interesting. Taps could be cut to a trickle if you don't pay your water bill. Families who don't pay their water bills could have their supply to their homes cut to a trickle. It would take ages to fill a kettle, and it would be virtually impossible to take a shower.
This is the thing they said that would never happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Just very briefly, just a couple of examples of how much they're going to the inflation and how much the bills are going to rise. South West Water, for example, in 2010-11, £755. In 2014, £1,100, an increase of 45.5%.
£1,100 for water. It would be cheaper to bathe in Perrier.
Yeah, exactly. You just buy it by the bottle, and
the funny thing is, whenever I go to Devon, it's raining.
Put a bucket out.
They get their water from Birmingham or something.
Anyway, it's an outrage, it's a scandal. It's
It's
depriving people of their
appalling,
basic
really.
human rights to water, and it's going to happen within
And
the next few
electricity
years.
and gas is going up as well, so our utilities...
Anything else, Anton? Sorry.
Well, just one last one, again in the Mail. A young lady, I'm thinking this is probably not a good girlfriend to have. She's had 5 husbands, but unfortunately she was married to all of them at the same time.
Never got divorced.
The biggest
She's a comely wench, though, isn't she?
She's a lovely girl. She's quite sweet-looking.
Is that what she is?
She's
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, she doesn't believe in divorce. That's the only problem. A former glamour model told her newlywed on their honeymoon that she was a serial bigamist and he was her 5th husband. But as he told her, she told him that she was leaving him to go and be with his best friend.
Is that right? That's so romantic.
So I do love you, honestly, but I could do with a new frock and a nice party. So I'm going to marry your best friend.
A nice one, Anton. What have you got, Em?
Sign of the Times in The Guardian, unofficial walkouts over Lindsay double. I mean,
we can see this one coming.
It's growing and growing, I think is the shortcut there. And and now the 61 original guys who lost their jobs are now being asked to sign a piece of paper which says that they'll be prepared to go through any picket line in the future. And that's the only way they'll get their job back.
Chuck them in the bin and burn them.
Yeah. The only way they'll get their jobs back now, if they reapply for their jobs and it has that clause in it that they'll have to walk through picket lines.
It's not right, really, is it? I
No.
mean, do you know that this action that Total are doing over here...
They wouldn't do it in France.
They're not allowed by law to do it in
Exactly.
France.
Isn't that interesting? Says already. And talking of France, Sarkozy says that he's thinking very seriously of banning the burqa. There's a growing Muslim population in France who are taking to the streets in their burqas, and he says, and I happen to agree with him, he says it's a sign not of religion but of subservience and debasement. It will not be welcome on the territory of the French Republic.
See, my objection to the burqa is what it does to men, because it takes the view that all men are rapists, which I primarily object to.
Anne and I were talking in the green room, and we can see that sometimes the virtue, can't we? Because we wouldn't have had to get here so early for makeup if we could wear one. And you can keep sandwiches underneath, so we could be snacking. Anything could be going on under there. It has a place, I think.
Yeah, ish. OK, and the next one, you know, there's been an outbreak of common sense suddenly. You remember we heard those stories of schools that were actually stopping parents from videoing...
every school.
And, well, that's right, and photographing their own children at sports day and nativity plays and things like that. Well, now, they're actually putting out a leaflet to all schools saying, actually, that's not what we really meant. Parents can take photographs of their own children at sports days and things like that. You can't ban parents from taking pictures. Schools are told.
At last. But children don't handle blue tack unless you're wearing goggles.
No,
and remember,
right.
Be careful if you use shaving foam, you may drown.
Enjoying yourself is dangerous.
Yes. After the break, is RBS right or wrong to pay its new boss, Stephen Hester, £9.6 million? If he turns the bank around, we will all be winners, won't we? Or were you thinking a bank run on our money, a bank that's fired thousands of its own workers and might try and get a handle on executive pay? 0207 173 5555 is the number for your thoughts. Maybe a pay deal nudging £10 million is what is needed to get the best man on board to run the show. Or maybe Britain's bankers are just carrying on where they left off, shortly before plunging Britain £1 trillion into debt. Your shout after the ads.
How many jobs has RBS axed in the last year? 5,000, 10,000 or 15,000? Find out after the break.